Welcome to the Really Know Your Customer podcast with your hosts, Betsy Westhafer and Tony Bodo. Join Betsy and Tony as they dive in with highly successful C-suite leaders who have grown successful organizations by creating a laser focus on listening to their customers and building deep customer relationships. Now, it's time to join Betsy and Tony for the Really Know Your Customer show.
Welcome to the Really Know Your Customer podcast. My name is Tony Bodo. I am the CEO of Tony Bodo International.
And I'm Betsy Westhafer, the CEO of the Congruity Group. And we're so happy you're joining us today.
Betsy, I am so excited about this interview. We had an amazing time talking with Lucas, and he is this amazing CEO of a technology startup, but he understands first and foremost humanity. He understands that technology is there to support and unlock the creativity of the human spirit, the ability to express, and he works with local businesses to help them do that.
Yeah, he was so fun to speak with and learn about his business, but more importantly, just how he approaches knowing his customers. So just to give you a little context, Lucas Liu is the co-founder and CEO of Infi, and that's a technology company that supports local restaurants and franchises with not so much the back kitchen type technology, but the front facing customer technology. So it's a fascinating interview. It was just really fun to dig into the human element, as you said, Tony, of what work they do. And I think our audience is really going to like this one.
Absolutely. He has such a value add perspective that I really think. I know there was one quote that really stuck out to you when you talked about it right after the interview was over.
Yeah, he was talking about digitization, and he said digitization is no longer a plus, it's a must. And I thought that was really important. But what he went on to talk about was how, and I don't want to give away too much of it, but it was really about how digitization is not about taking jobs away from people. It's about taking redundant work away from them so that they can be even better at servicing their customers. And I think that's the heart of this interview. And I absolutely loved it.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's meet Lucas Liu, the co-founder and CEO of Infi. So Lucas, thank you so much for joining us. We're so happy to have you on our show today.
Hello. Hi, guys.
Yeah, great to have you here. We want to just start off by learning more about you personally, and then we're going to dive into the work you do, what your company does, where you see things heading, et cetera. So if you could give us a little bit of background on you and how you got to this point in your career, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for asking. I came here in high school to the United States, and I directly go to the university in Champaign. And as an immigrant students, as a foreigner, we do see a wave of new foreign students coming to the United States studying. And I and a couple of my friends, we decided to go to the hospitality business. So we opened a karaoke bar in Champaign to start with. And then one of my partner see the success, and then he wants to open more hospitality businesses in Chicago, which has a bigger market. So we opened our restaurant and karaoke bar in Chicago. And but my passion is entrepreneurship, and more bonded with my core of study. So I study computer engineering. So I want to combine my hospitality skill and my engineering skill together. And then after I make friends in the restaurant businesses in Chicago, and people started to ask about how they can improve their digitalization on the restaurant businesses. And I do see a business opportunity here, and which really fits my skill, my interest, and my passion. So that's how I get into this kiosk startup.
I love that, and I love how you've combined your passion. And I was kind of poking around your website and reading some of the stories about the companies you worked with and that. And I found it interesting. You actually started out with the small mom and pop type restaurants specifically, and then it looks like you're moving more into the franchise market. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. So we would love to serve the mom and pops, because they are definitely far left behind on the digitalization. Like when you talk about franchise, there are also the national franchise and the local franchise. And now I see the local franchise, even though their system is a little bit better than the mom and pops, but they do need a lot of help as well. So that's why I think it's more efficient to help the local franchise. Yeah.
So how would you describe your philosophy toward how you work with your customers? A mom and pop shop is a very different type entity than, the bigger franchises. So how do you and your company focus on your customers?
Yeah. So we got an interesting philosophy. It's more towards now the social media digitalization and etc. Basically, our local franchise, whoever using our solutions, have a certain criteria they fit. One, they're busy. Second, they have a good online presence, including website, social media, and they have followers as well. And they really care about their online review, which is Google review, Yelp review, and stuff. So combining all these, what we call that, I think those they are like a local influencers, like those stores. They are the local KOL, the key opinion leaders, and whatever they produce, people enjoy that. So the content they provide is their food, their drink. That's whatever they are providing, and their followers buy their food, buy their drink. Also, those stores kind of influence their followers of what's good, what's in the trend, what they're supposed to buy in the food businesses. So I think that's very interesting, and what we're doing is really helping them to fulfill their digitalization side, which is a must if you want to pursue the KOL approach. Right? If you are using the KOL approach, the more followers you got, the more what they're trying to do is to really make a benefit to those influencers, right? To those followers, and that they need tools. So I think the first step is we use kiosks to digitalize their in-store experience, and then we use online channels to digitalize their online experience and combine them together. So that's what I think the future of the local businesses will become. Yeah.
That is so fascinating, because it's so much more than just your technology. You're really talking about community, you're talking about social media, you're talking about influencing, a market. I just find that fascinating. Tony, I know you're dying to jump in because of your background in hospitality, as well as, this whole idea behind the influencing.
Right. And I think what I'm hearing, at this point is that we used to look at the stores, 50, 60 years ago. Stores were a center of influence. Restaurants were a center of influence in their communities. And as franchises grew, that kind of fell away, because it just became, how do we commoditize things as fast and get things out as fast as possible? Mm-hmm. McDonald's and others came in. But those small restaurants that are still out there, they have a really loyal following a lot of times. And I like that. I've even noticed around here, there are some, I live in Nashville, Betsy lives in Dayton, and there are some local franchises that are growing. And there's a particular Mexican one that we go to. There's a Greek one that we go to, mm-hmm. but they're not very advanced on the technology side. Like, they're keeping things as low as possible in cost, So mm-hmm. It's interesting to see that there's a market there for you to really build. So how, I would imagine that as these small companies are trying to digitize and trying to kind of move through that digital transformation, do you find that there are those that are resisting it and saying, we just want to do business the old way? Or are most of them really recognizing that they have to really do this in order to survive and have that experience their customers want?
Mm, so it depends on the owner, of course. It depends on the how what type of feelings they want to create to their clients, to the diners. But I say most of them are, after the pandemic, they realize digitalization is a must. It's not like a plus, it's a must to survive. And also, not everybody gonna become McDonald's, no matter how good they do. Becoming McDonald's is really challenging. And but those good small franchise, they also want to expand. They don't want to expand as many as McDonald's. Of course, they want to expand. They just want to bring more to the neighborhood, and that's where the business opportunity for us, is to help them to grow into from 2 or 3 locations into like 15 locations, and that's already pretty good to the restaurant owners. And if you want to do that, digitalization is not costing money. It save you a lot of time and effort, which save you a lot of money, and which this is a basic theory. All companies do that, right? Restaurant cannot avoid using those type of tools. And we're not developing all kinds of tools for the restaurant. We're only developing the tools that facing their customers to enhance their digitalization in front of their diners. And we integrate those tools together with the in-house management tools, the POS system, the back of house kitchen displays systems, and other stuff. It's a combination of people working together to improve the local businesses. It's it's really hard for like just one business to do everything for the locals. It's basically impossible. Yeah.
Lucas, with everything that's been going on, I'm sure you're hearing a lot of stories of struggle with your clients, with the restaurant industry being so hard hit during the pandemic. What are some of the things that you've been hearing, and how they're overcoming it, and how's the general level of optimism moving into the future?
Yeah, many restaurants are struggling. I think the very good thing this time was actually the government. I think the government is doing quite a good job for them. So they gave them a lot of free money, and that really helped them survive. And I think many of our clients survived during the pandemic, and the lesson they learned is everything has to be prepared ahead of time. Like I think the pandemic doesn't go like this, right? It has a long period of time which was not so bad, and then goes up. And also, since we're from Asia, and the pandemic broke out from Asian countries, and many of our owners should prepare ahead, because they saw how bad in the Asian country was, and they shouldn't wait until the government shuts everything down and start to take some actions. And I think that's more important. And for the entire hospitality business, I think many things gonna change. But I think it's gonna change. Many things gonna change, but in my opinion, it's only my own opinion, everything gonna go back to the same way as before, because hospitality business is more about human interaction. It's not about like you stay home and you can get everything online. It's not like an Amazon play. It has to have a local store that supports the community, which is how people. That's what we are. We're human beings. We can't just live on the internet. Yeah.
I think just as a quick follow-up, sorry, Tony, just as a quick follow-up to that, I think, just my personal observation is that people are really gravitating toward that restaurant thing like it used to be, where it was the center of a community. And, we had this big time off, and I think people realize how important that is, to run into friends at a restaurant, or take your family and have a dinner out, or whatever the case may be. I know that, and the idea that people really want to support the restaurant owners, because it's known how tough it's been. So yeah. I think there's such a good thing happening in terms of, the gathering place and the support for these business owners.
Yeah, that's very true. People love their local businesses, and I think also diners, they understand the pinpoint of the local businesses, and they are becoming more and more supportive. And I think the relationship between the restaurant owner and diners actually enhanced through this pandemic, and I hope they all have a much better future. Yeah, that's what I really hope. Yeah, yeah.
One of the things I really love that I heard you say, Lucas, here just a moment ago was about the humanity, we're humans, we can't rely on just technology. So I want to dive into that for a minute, because I think it's refreshing to hear a technologist, the head of a technology company say that, recognize that. And based on your experience, I understand why, because you ran restaurants, you understand the hospitality industry. And when we look at 5-star reviews, I do that on a daily basis. I'm studying reviews and trying to understand what's happening out there. And what most people probably don't realize is that in the hospitality industry, to get a 5-star review, especially for restaurants, there's only really 2 ways to do it. You've got to have either amazing food or amazing people. It's one or the other, and hopefully both. Yeah. But if you have amazing food and your people are people will still come and get your food because they love the food. Yeah. But amazing people are really what makes the industry shine. And so, how does your technology really support that human aspect of it? Because that doesn't seem to make sense for a lot of people. They're like, well, technology, kiosks, we're gonna get rid of all the jobs, but that's not what you're saying here. You're actually going something deeper.
Yeah, I mean, there's a balance. It's very easy to express. People become more active, more friendly when they get the time. They're focused. If I'm the owner, I tell my employee, hey, your job is to smile. Your job is to service people, and he's gonna do a phenomenal job. But if I tell this guy, hey, your job is to be a cashier, don't make any mistakes, he's gonna focus on how to take orders and just check on things. And this person can never become very good. You might find a good people, but you get a chance he might leave or something, right? So with the technology, it's more like you free up people's time and let them focus on the hospitality side, right? And you hire a person to teach people how to use the kiosk, and people are happy about it, right? It's not like you just leave a bunch of machine out there and you don't care about them at all. You hire people, and these people gonna stay around for, if it's not busy, he can do some in-house works, packing for the delivery orders. When they're busy, he doesn't need to take orders. He just needs to go out there and help people on the kiosk. And this person can be much more effective, much more efficient than just having one register or two, which is more costly, more things like. Let me give you another example. Like, I go to a restaurant recently. They have a robot busboy, right, to serve food. And with that, you think they're gonna take the job of busboy? No, all the servers, all the busboy, they are more actively serving water, chatting with you guys, and doing you receive your check much faster. You receive the water refill up much faster, and I feel like I got a much better experience. Just leave the repetitive. What the technology gonna do is replace the competitive low value works. That's just leave those to the technology. And for the interacting, you can't say you create an AI that can talk to people and become very hospitality. That's gonna take a while. It's not gonna happen in like 10 years, right? I think at least in these years, you still need people to do those type of things, and that, I think that's gonna be what I think the restaurant gonna be. Yeah.
Tony, to your point, I love the idea that a technology company is so focused on the human element. And I think that's so inspiring. And also, I have to think it's a huge competitive advantage for you, Lucas, as a technology company, that you really get the people side of things and you haven't lost sight of that. In fact, you have such a focus on it.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you do business with local people. If you're dealing with franchise, then it's different, right? They just want to make sure there's profit. They have other analytics to figure out the money and things like that. But when you do local, they don't care that like 1%, 2% margin. They just want to have a good environment and have people just the community thing. They want to be the local, community point. I think that's very important.
Well, I love this, and I'm taking kind of a futuristic look here. I know, we've seen that there are robots that are in kitchens now. We see a lot of that stuff has been on the path, and it's going to get here eventually, where we're going to see more automation in the restaurants and that. And I think, to your point, put those in the lower skill jobs, the repetitive jobs, where we can use technology for that advantage. Do you foresee that the restaurant industry is going to change from the perspective of becoming more human than before, maybe getting back to more of that humanity? Or do you think the technology and the robots are going to be primarily in the larger restaurants for now, and the small restaurants won't get that for quite some time?
Again, in like since I grew up in Asian, and all those kitchen robots are becoming more and more popular over there. But what they do is also they replace the repetitive work. Like, in Chinese food, you do woks, right? You do woks, and they create a robot that can just walk. So the human doesn't walk. But when you come into the garnish, when you come into the design, the philosophy, that's I think where the human, you free up the head of the kitchen, you free up the chef, and then he's gonna put more focus on how to improve, how to more creative, right? If you tell this guy, hey, again, you tell the chef your job is to make sure the food doesn't have the good quality, and then he needs to focus on the wok. Like, I have to wok like 20 times on each dish, right? So in the future, he can just push a button, and the wok just gonna do that 20 times repetitively, and I think it's gonna be much better than he's doing that on his own. So I think that's a combination of human creativity, human interactions together with some robots that can handle the repetitive works. That I think that's gonna be the future of the restaurant businesses.
Yeah. It's like walking into a bakery today where they've got the big industrial mixers. I mean, it's the same principle there.
It's the same principle. The coffee machines, right? You're not expecting people just grinding the coffee like all the time in the coffee shop, right? If you see that, then this person pretty much overwhelmed by doing that, and he lose all the interactions, right?
I love it because it's like the technology, the way you're talking about the technology, it's actually freeing us up to be more human, to be more creative, to discover new ways to express ourselves, which I love that. I love that idea.
Yeah. So that's what I think the future gonna be. Yeah.
Tony, I think that's the heart of what we're talking about, is just using technology to enable more human interaction, which is not how most people think about technology. Like you said, Lucas, it's, people think, you're going to replace somebody, but it actually helps enhance the human experience.
Yeah, so that's what we want to do. We you replace somebody. It sounds harsh, but it's like you have to stand on both sides. You have to stand on the restaurant owner side. They have a hard time finding laborers. They have a hard time training people, and then they become very, their temper. They lose their cool in the daily operation. You free them up, and then they focus on more like, same thing. The owners are actually very cool people. They can hang out with you guys and just, give service you, and you make friends with them. Yeah.
This reminds me of a quick story. Our little local family pizza bar place that we started going to many, many years ago, we built such a community of friends there, and we were hanging out, and some of them have become some of our closest friends. And the owner was always out talking to people and just helping build that community. And then at one point, the restaurant changed hands, and that owner left, and the new people came in, and you never saw them. And it was the same food. To your point, Tony, it's either the food or the people. It was the same food, but just the atmosphere changed because the owner wasn't out there making sure that people felt great and calling everybody by name and all of that kind of thing. And it was just sad, and then that group started to kind of splinter off a little bit, because there were other places where you did get that experience, and it ultimately the restaurant shut down. And so it was kind of a sad ending to that, but it just shows how important that really is. And if you can have well-trained people and technology to support the ability for the owner to do that, then I think that's absolutely key to their success.
Yeah, exactly. I think Betsy got you got it right. It's yeah, you if once it goes to the big chains, it's they have their own playbook, and yeah, but for the locals, they have to have their own supportive team to help them. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground here. Betsy, did you have anything else to ask right now, or?
No, I think this was a great discussion. I'm looking forward to our audience hearing this because I think it's so timely for where we are right now.
Absolutely. And I think the big takeaway for me is that, there's hope for these small businesses, local community businesses, especially, in your case, the restaurant and hospitality industry. And I look forward to seeing what your company does, in the future. What are any of your big plans, or, anything you're willing to share, like where you're headed as far as with the company?
Yeah, we're gonna spend a significant resource into improving the products, and also we're gonna we're gonna create a department just cross connecting all the owners and all the local resources and see if they can. It's not see if they can help each other. They definitely help each other. It's just like make it more formalized, make it more more structured. And I think say like, it's just a very quick example. I have a Mexican restaurant owner, and he wants to enhance his branding. He wants to find its printings, the create all those its own packagings and stuff. And those stuff are very popular in China, very easy, very cheap. But he doesn't know how to find it. And I think I'm like, yeah, all my Asian restaurant owners know how to do it, and I think they can do it together. And when they ship together with the same shipment, it's cheaper. The more they ship, it's cheaper. And I think they finally eventually gonna get a deal on doing similar things together. I feel like helping those communities, it's also help us, right? Because when we do those, we help those, they open up new restaurant faster, and they all gonna use our product, and it's cheaper than we just find new restaurant owners. And it's easier to grow the inside instead of just keep doing marketing on the outside. So I think we're gonna spend some resource there as well. Yeah.
I love to hear that, Lucas. We at Congruity Group, we have a B2B customer engagement assessment, and there are 8 modules to it. And one of the modules in that is value add. So how can you give your clients and customers something that goes beyond the products and services you sell? So that's a perfect example of how you can be more to them than a commodity supplier, or, somebody that just, is transactional. You're really thinking on their behalf, and how can we add additional value that isn't really the core business? And so I love that you said that.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, we have covered a lot of ground here. I think it's been an awesome interview. Thank you so much, Lucas, for being with us today. I really appreciate it. I know our audience is going to have a lot of feedback for us on this. Is there anything else you want to add, or I'll give you the last word as we head out?
The only thing we can ask is our current focus is in the Bay Area. We want to grow our business into California, especially the Bay Area and the South California, the LA area. If anybody know some good resources down there can help our business grow, which will be very helpful. Also, we're trying to hire a good CTO. Even though I'm a technology person, but I think the more and more I get into this, I feel like a good CTO with a good experience is always going to be helpful. And if anybody hear the message and think they have a good technology background and want to help the restaurant businesses, shoot me an email. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Lucas. We really appreciate your time today. As Tony said, I know this is going to be a highly valuable episode for our listeners, and we look forward to watching your progress.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Betsy, I absolutely love this interview with Lucas. I think, first of all, tapping back into my roots in hospitality, I just absolutely love anytime we have an opportunity to do that. But the piece that really struck me, and I know I asked some questions around this because it was just so fascinating. We've got a technologist, a deep technologist, who understands the value of human connectivity, especially in these local businesses, these small businesses. And I just couldn't get enough of that because he really does know his customers. I mean, and he knows his customers' customers, right? That's the part that just fascinated me about this interview, and how he really looks to help those community businesses grow by bringing more of that human touch through in addition to the technology.
Yeah, I agree. And you could just hear in his voice, and for those of you that are watching on video, you could see him just light up when he was talking about his customers, and I have a customer this and my customer that, and he really feels that connection with his customers, and he does really know his customers. And I loved how that passion came through, and yet he's a technologist, and so I just think that's I have hope that a lot more technology companies hear this episode and understand how critical that is. And I have so much confidence that he's going to just crush it in his market because of his focus on the customer.
Absolutely. So I think, with that, Betsy, this was a phenomenal show, and I can't wait to hear our next show. And if you are listening to us, please be sure to subscribe and also to rate our podcast. We love to know your feedback, love to get your feedback. And if you want to reach out to us, we are always happy to hear from you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. And we'll see you next time on the Really Know Your Customer podcast.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Really Know Your Customer. We hope you gained a lot of value from being here today. If you want to learn more about the work Betsy and Tony do to help their clients thrive, visit Betsy at thecongruitygroup.com and Tony at tonybodo.com. See you next time on the Really Know Your Customer show.